opportunity to position South Africa as a global force for driving inclusive growth. Their support staff and families who will attend the more than 130 meetings before the Leaders Summit. All provinces will benefit from hosting either the ministerial or working group meetings. Following in the footsteps of Brazil, South Africa will host the G20 Social for broader participation of civil society, and will also introduce a new engagement group, the Township 20 or TS20, to highlight the creative, cultural, financial, and innovative capacities of South Africa's township economies. The further details of both the G20 Social and the TS20 will be shared in due course. The first working group meetings of the Sherpas and the Finance and Central Bank deputies will take place from the 9th to the 10th of December 2024, and also the 11th to the 12th December 2024 in Gauteng. For more information on G20 South Africa, visit www.g20.org. Cabinet invites potential sponsors to partner with government in sponsoring G20 South Africa. Interested parties are invited to forward the expression of interest to G20 sponsorship at derco.gov.za, which call for sponsorship closes on 31st March 2025. On the economy, the quarterly labor force survey of the third quarter of 2024, Cabinet welcomed the positive trend in the country's employment figures, which shows that the number of employed people increased by 294,000 to 16.9 million in the third quarter of 2024, with unemployment rate declining to 32.1% from 33.5% in quarter two. The largest increases in employment were observed in the Eastern Cape with 83,000, Western Cape 75,000, Northwest 69,000, and Mpumalanga 49,000. Importantly, the total number of unemployed youth, that is young people between the ages of 15 and 34, decreased by 171,000 to 4.8 million, while employed youth registered an increase of 66,000 to 5.8 million. Similarly, the number of employed women increased by 97,000 to 7.5 million. The positive employment trend is a result of concerted efforts and interventions which began during the sixth administration through the implementation of the Economic Recovery and Reconstruction Plan, commonly known as the ERRP, which are starting to yield results. Quarter 3 GDP decline in the midst of positive economic outlook. Cabinet noted the decline in GDP by 0.3% in the third quarter of 2024, with the largest decline of 28.8% recorded in the agriculture, forestry, and fishing, which may indicate the impact of the drought, as Stats SA is reporting that the decline is primarily due to decreased economic activities for field crops. Despite the third quarter GDP decline, Cabinet welcomed the positive economic outlook by the International Monetary Fund, IMF, and the rating agency Standard & Poor's, as the impact of the implemented Operation Vulindlela coordinated reforms start to bear fruit. The S&P also upgraded Eskom's long-term global scale foreign and local currency ratings from stable to positive, which indicates the progress made by government in strengthening Eskom's financial and operation foundation through the work of NECOM, Eskom board, and Eskom's executive team. Cabinet further welcomed the decision by the South African Reserve Bank to cut the repo rate by another 25 basis points from 8% to 7.75%. The lower interest rate will continue to ease the burden on highly indebted consumers and mitigate the high cost of living, whilst also encouraging businesses to expand their operations to further stimulate economic activity. On investment, Cabinet welcomed the announcement by Saudi Arabia to invest 9.5 billion to build a platinum smelter and base metal refinery in the waterbed of Limpopo. I'm sure the Premier of the province will welcome me home for Christmas with open arms. The new investment is a strong vote of confidence in our nation and builds on the first phase of our investment mobilization drive under the sixth administration that saw our nation surpass its trillion rands in investment pledges. South Africa is now targeting 2 trillion rands in new investments over the next 5 SAA's strong performance, highlighting the airline's significant progress towards financial sustainability. For the first time since 2012, the South African Airways 2023 financial year and group revenue increased from 2 billion to 5.7 billion. Remarkably, SAA achieved this milestone while operating with only 6 to 8 aircraft across 9 destinations at the beginning of the 2022-23 financial year. The airline has since doubled its fleet, launched intercontinental routes, and increased its network to 16 destinations. Interventions against foodborne illnesses. Since President Ramaphosa's announcement on the 15th of November 2024 on interventions against foodborne illnesses, nearly 200,000 spaza shops have been visited, while more than 1,000 spaza shops, supermarkets and warehouses have been closed down. Large quantities of goods have been confiscated and numerous fines have been issued for violations of the bylaws. There will be added scrutiny on manufacturers' government's response in this region. Cabinet government's response in this region. Cabinet calls on all South Africans to remain vigilant when purchasing food items, especially not to purchase items that have passed their expiry date. Let us make it our responsibility to educate our children about food safety, including teaching them to check labeling themselves. Vendors and food producers are teaching them to check labeling themselves. Vendors and food producers are also urged to adhere to strict hygiene practices, including who knows or who sees counterfeit foodstuffs and expired items being sold in communities to report 012 065 012 065. Safety and security on the crime stats and the continued fight against crime. Cabinet welcomed the release of the second quarter crime statistics, which show law enforcement agencies' efforts to turn the tide in the fight against crime are starting to yield results, with a decrease in both murder and violent crimes. The murder rate in South Africa has decreased by 5.8%, while sexual offences decreased by 2.5%, and robbery and aggravating circumstances decreased by 8.8%. Additionally, rape decreased by 3.1%, while robbery at residential premises and non-residential premises decreased by 1%, 1.3% and 21.1% respectively. Cabinet also welcomed the arrest of the 39-year-old Mexican national for dealing in and manufacturing drugs, as well as the Contravention of Immigration Act, after a multidisciplinary operation guided by the police led to the discovery of a drug laboratory in Rietfontein, Johannesburg, valued at approximately 100 million rands. In addition, the SAPS, through an intelligent cocaine with an estimate communities and public spaces, while ensuring criminals have no place to hide. Inaugural National Construction Summit. Cabinet welcomed the inaugural National Construction Summit. Cabinet welcomed the inaugural National Construction Summit held on the 19th of November 2024 by the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure, Police, the Department of Water and other infrastructure-driven departments to create crime-free construction sites. The summit brought together built environment to reflect on and agree on a common approach to ending violence and extortion at construction sites, while severely delay government's large-scale infrastructure project. Cabinet noted the signing of the Durban Declaration as an effort to build confidence in the government's ability to deliver projects on time and within budget in its quest to turn South Africa into a construction site. Engagement with traditional leaders. Cabinet noted the recent successful engagement between government and the National House of Traditional and Khoisan Leaders, NHTKL, aimed at strengthening collaboration and addressing key issues that affect rural communities that are represented by traditional leaders. The gathering provided an opportunity to promote constructive dialogue on matters related to the institution of traditional leadership and communities, including an update on the traditional and Khoisan leadership bill that was gazetted on 29 November 2024 for public comments. The engagement forms part of ongoing work by the Interministerial Task Team set up by President Ramaphosa and chaired by the Deputy President, Mr. Mashatile, to ensure that voices and concerns of traditional leaders are heard and addressed comprehensively. On social matters, class of 2024, Cabinet commends the Department of Basic Education and the class of 2024 on the successful conclusion of the 2024 National Certificate Senior Certificate Examinations. Government has set up 181 marking centers across the country which have been audited and deemed ready. The national matric results will be announced on the 13th of January 2025, with provincial education departments releasing the results on the 14th of January 2025. On World AIDS Day, Deputy President His Excellency Paul Mashatile, together with the South African National AIDS Council, launched the country's commemoration of World AIDS Day on 1st of December 2024 under the theme Equal Rights, Equal Care, which calls for equitable, dignified, and equal access to health care for all South Africans, irrespective of their economic status, gender, ethnicity, or sexual orientation. In line with the theme, government continues with efforts to strengthen the fight against HIV and AIDS and support those infected and affected by the virus. The day reminds us that HIV and AIDS has not gone away and that we must collectively fight against the virus, especially by practicing safe sex. HIV is prevalent among young people, especially adolescent girls and young women between the ages of 15 and 24, with a weekly record of 1,300 new cases. So South Africa, we need to work together to combat this scourge. On 16 days of Activism campaign, this year marks the 26th anniversary of the 16 days of Activism for No Violence Against Women and Children campaign, which is being marked under the theme 30 years of advancing collective action and end violence against women and children. The campaign began on the 25th of November and will conclude on the 10th of December 2024. But our motto is that 365 days are days for no activism against violence against women and children. The No Violence Against Women and Children campaign and the National Men's Day Against Gender-Based Violence and Femicide will take place in Durban, KwaZulu-Natal on the 6th of December 2025, and take the form of a march from King Dinizulu Park to the station in Stanford Hill. And this event will be addressed by His Excellency the Deputy President, Mr. Paul Mashatile, and His Majesty King Misizulu Kazoleti. International Criminal Court. Cabinet welcomes the warrants of arrest issued by the International Criminal Court for Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, former Minister of Defense Yoav Gallant, and Mohammed Deif of Hamas. These actions mark a significant step towards justice for crimes against humanity in the war crimes committed against Palestine. South Africa reaffirms its commitment to international community to uphold the rule of law and ensure accountability for human rights violations. On COP29, Cabinet welcomes the outcome of the UN Climate Change Conference, commonly known as COP29, which agreed on a new finance goal to help countries protect their people and economies against climate disasters. Known as the new Collective Quantified Goal on Climate Finance, or NCQG, the new goal aims to triple fund annually by 2035. South Africa views climate change as a global crisis and has established the Just Transition Partnership to transition to a low-carbon economy as part of our commitment to save the planet from harmful emissions. Nigeria-South Africa Binational Commission. The 11th session of the Nigeria-South Africa Binational Commission was held on the 3rd of December 2024 in South Africa to strengthen relations between the countries. The two countries signed a number of agreements and memoranda of understanding that will improve the lives of the people. and there will be a follow-up meeting to prepare for the 12th summit, which will take place in the 12th PNC, which will take place in 2026 in Nigeria, and the meeting will take place in Nigeria next year in 2025 to make sure that the memorandum of understanding that have been signed over a period of time, they are implemented, particularly in areas of critical minerals, in area of just energy transition, mining, and other strategic areas of relations between South Africa and Nigeria. Namibian elections. Cabinet joins President Ramaphosa in congratulating President-elect Madam Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah for securing victory in the Namibian presidential election and becoming the first female president in the country, if not also the first in the region. No, because of Tanzania, she won't be the first. Cabinet also commends the people of Namibia for coming out in their numbers to vote in this election and calls on everyone to allow the Electoral Commission of Namibia space to finalize which they've already done. They've announced the results officially last night, both the results of the presidential and the National Assembly elections. On safer festive season, Cabinet wishes all South Africans a safe and prosperous festive season and reminds everyone that we all have to play our part in making the festive season joyous and safe for everyone. Cabinet reminds everyone that road traffic law enforcement officers, law enforcement agencies, and other government departments will step up safety operations during this period to ensure that all people are safe. This will include regular roadblocks, stop and searches, and tracking and tracing of wanted criminal suspects. The heightened police visibility is aimed at preventing, combating, and at the same time countering serious and violent crime during the holiday season and beyond. Updates to Cabinet. Cabinet commended the continuous and successful implementation of the National Energy Action Plan led by the Minister of Electricity and Energy, Dr. Ramokgopa. The implementation of this plan has resulted in more than 252 days of constant power supply in the country. The implementation of the plan has yielded 17.37 billion rands year-on-year savings compared to 24.15 billion rands spent during the same period last year to make sure that we had power on. So this year we actually had savings. Cabinet was further updated on the ESCOM implementation of the key revision number 2, commonly known as the KRN2, which has successfully completed its prepaid meter KRN rollover project, and 5.5 million customers have rolled over to the KRN2 and are transacting successfully. The KRN2 project has resulted in reduced zero buyers from 2.1 million to 1.7 million. These are people who continue to consume electricity without buying or paying for electricity. ESCOM will use various interventions to reduce the 1.7 million buyers, zero buyers continuously until we reach the level of zero. ESCOM schedules will be communicated with respect to communities as the meter replacement initiative is rolled out. Business rescue and reopening of Lily Mine. Cabinet was updated about the progress on the business rescue and plans to reopen the Lily Mine, which was placed under business rescue on the 4th of April 2016 because of the mine accident. The Minister of Minerals and Petroleum, Honorable Gwede Mantashe, continues to engage the owner of the mine and the business rescue practitioner with the aim of ensuring the reopening of the mine and for the best solutions for the affected families, recovery of the 3 missing employees, and for economic revival of the area. Following the first agreement reached on the 10th of May 2024 between the Department of Minerals and Petroleum, the owner of the mine, and the major creditor, the minister held a meeting with stakeholders wherein the following July to Executive Council for 2025, Cabinet was informed of the election of Minister of Tourism, Honorable Patricia de Lille, as the first Vice Chair of the UN Tourism Executive Council for 2025 at the UN Tourism Executive Council meeting held in Carthage, briefed on various interventions to address water challenges and challenges of water provision. On water leaks, Cabinet was appraised that eThekwini Municipality and Joburg Water have commenced with implementation of their turnaround strategies development with the assistance of the National SALGA and DBSA have established a water partnership office to assist municipalities to access funding for various projects, including projects to reduce non-revenue water. eThekwini, Buffalo City, City of Tshwane, Mangaung, Nelson Mandela are being assisted. The National Treasury through its public-private partnership, unit is assist to water services authorities. Cabinet was appraised that in addition to support 2 municipalities designated as water service authorities through grant funding, 2 reforms are under implementation by the Department of Water and Sanitation and National Treasury respectively. These are the amendment of the Water Services Act and the reform of Metropolitan Trading Services Program. On the long-term water resource management planning, Cabinet was briefed on plans to ensure water security in the country. And these plans include the Olifants Ebenezer Water Supply Augmentation Project, which is aimed at increasing the supply of water to Polokwane and Capricorn District Municipality. The current phase of the project commenced in the 2022-2023 financial year at the Olifants Port Water Treatment Works and the Ebenezer Water Treatment Works. The Sintumure Kutama the Olifants Ebenezer Water Augmentation Project will alleviate the current water shortage challenges confronting, in particular, the residents of Polokwane Municipality. The Sintumure Kutama Bulk Water Supply Project, aimed at supplying additional water to Makado, is anticipated to be completed in January 2025. So also the residents of Makado Municipality who are currently confronted with continuous water shortages, we expect that your water shortage will be alleviated as from February 2025 when the project is completed in January 2025. The Mooihoek Bulk Water Supply Project which involves the upgrading of water treatment works in Mooihoek, a bulk pipeline from the water treatment works to serve 13 villages including Beggars Fort. The contractor is attending to snag list and the project is ready for the municipality to connect to reticulation. So the residents of Skokune are also on the pipeline of receiving water in their areas. The Nebo Bulk Water Supply Project, also aimed at providing and greater Fitahome towards the municipality. The municipality is expected to appoint a contractor during the 2025-2026 financial year to complete the project, and will then keep you updated on when the appointment has been completed, when will the project completion be done. The Motse Bulk Water Supply Project, which is aimed at supplying bulk water from Groblersdal Water Treatment Works to 40 villages in Motse under Ephraim Mogale and Elias Motsoaledi municipalities. The Department of Water and Sanitation has deployed its own resources to ensure the project is completed by September 2025. The low-scope bulk water project aimed at supplying bulk water to villages in Motse East, Mpumalanga and Limpopo and is expected to be completed by March 2025. The Mameja Water Supply Project is to supply water to 28 villages in Maruleng local municipality, and phase 1 is expected to be complete by December 2024, which is this month, and phase 2 to commence in January 2025. The Giani Water Project, the rehabilitation of the water treatment works was completed in June 2024, and 11 villages of the 24 villages have been served by this water scheme, and work to serve the remainder of the 13 villages is expected to be completed in December 2024. Phase 2 to reticulate water to the 31 villages will commence in April 2025. So we are expecting that by January, the 24 villages of Giani who do not have water will all have water when the 11 already have water. And then the project to serve water, supply water to the reply. Cabinet is pleased that phase 1 of the Cliff Drift package plant, which is expected to bring 12.5 million litres of water per day to communities in the Hammanskraal area, has been completed. Magalies Water and the City of Tshwane are now busy clearing the reticulation pipeline that will be used to distribute water to the residents of Hammanskraal. Once completed, further testing will also be done to ensure that the water is clean and drinkable. When all phases are fully completed, 50 million litres of treated water will be added to the system. On cabinet decisions, first is the National Policy on Women in Sport Policy Framework. Cabinet approved the National Policy on Women in Sport Policy Framework for implementation. The policy intends to promote increased active participation of women in sport and in leadership roles, and recognizes that increased participation of women in sport and in leadership positions will drastically reduce and ultimately contribute to eradicating gender inequality and various forms of discrimination against women. It also promotes equity by ensuring that women receive respect and recognition on the professional front, including equal remuneration as their male counterparts. The policy outlines a set of measures that will promote and support women in sport and ensure that programs are in place to address gender disparities in sporting codes and structures. It also addresses barriers to entry by women in sports, such as lack of funding, sponsorship, and inadequate remuneration. 2. The strategy to reduce food loss and waste. Cabinet approved the strategy for reducing food losses and waste for implementation. The strategy aims to minimize food loss and waste along the food supply chain and mitigate negative environmental impacts. This is aligned to the government's interventions to reduce the high cost of living. The strategy provides regulatory measures and interventions, norms and standards, appropriate financial support and incentives to promote the reduction in food loss and waste, amongst others. The strategy will enable the keeping on edible food within the value chain, so that the food can be shared with those who are poor, who sometimes go to bed hungry, and that the producers of food are incentivized not to destroy food, but to make food available to the masses of South Africans who have experienced food shortages. The Tourism Development and Marketing Plan. Cabinet approved the Tourism Route Development Plan for implementation. The plan is intended to use tourism as a vehicle to drive inclusive growth, job creation, and poverty reduction. In October 2023, Cabinet approved the Tourism Sector Master Plan to create opportunities for inclusive participation of all sectors of society, including women, youth, and people with disability. The Tourism Route Development Plan is anchored on collaborative public-private and sustenance. The plan will also strengthen the position of South Africa's domestic airline carriers. For optional protocol to the Convention Against Torture. Cabinet approved the designation of the South African Human Rights Commission as the national preventative mechanism for National Preventative Mechanism for Optional Protocol to the Convention Against Torture, which is commonly known as OPCAT. OPCAT is a human rights treaty aimed at preventing torture as well as cruelty, inhumane and degrading treatment or punishment. This designation is aligned with the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa and South Africa's foreign policy objective of promoting and protecting human rights. On bills, Judicial Matters Amendment Bill 2024, Cabinet approved the submission of the Judicial Matters Amendment Bill 2024 to Parliament. The primary aim of the bill is to amend numerous acts which are administered by the Department of Justice. The amendments are intended to address practical and technical issues on non-contentious nature, including compliance with the Constitutional Court judgments. On appointments, all appointments are subject to verification of qualification and relevant security clearances. Cabinet approved the appointment of Ms. Mary Lerato Morake as the Chief Executive Officer of the Val Orange Catchment Management Agency for a period of 5 years. Cabinet approved the appointment of Mr. Cecil Khosa as the CEO of South African Diamond Precious Metals Regulator. Mr. Muziwabantu Diamani as the CEO of the National Empowerment Fund. Ms. Makhoshi Lekete as the CEO of the Industrial Development Corporation. They are led by Dr. Lisiba Alex Mahapa as the chairperson, Ms. Makindlovu as the deputy chairperson, Ms. Petan Noneba Mashinini, Mr. Zain Oswald Kelofas, Ms. Masande Boy, Mr. Raymond Mulungwana Vokwana, Dr. Elsie Mulukwane, Ms. Matabo Abigail Sukati, and Mr. Nchengezeni My Service Board. Cabinet approved the appointment of Ms. Sandika Daya as the chairperson, Professor Sylvester Pandeli, deputy chairperson, Dr. Leslie Lutuli, Ms. Mpo Gift Mugodi, Dr. Phumuzo Taraga, Professor Tando Ndarana, Ms. Makau Zondi Balibechi, and Advocate Ikaning Mohosi, Ms. Anne Brewer, and Dr. Pritesh Dala. Cabinet approved the appointment of members to the board of Umzimbu Zizikama Catchment Management Agency, and these are Mr. Simpiwe Nicholas Kondlo, Ms. Fiona Sefton, Ms. Fezeka Mkile, Mr. Samir Randeris, Ms. Margaret Wolf, Ms. Salume Shilwane Mwabezu, Professor Winston Plakis, Ms. Nikki McLeod, Dr. Patricia N. Schema, and Mr. Tembelani Nkele. Cabinet also approved the appointment of the board of members of the board of Broadband Infraco Limited, Loiso Tira, Mr. Patrick Makape, Ms. Bujane Sehoa. Cabinet also approved the appointment of the non-executive members to the Council of Social Housing Regulatory Authority, Ms. Pulane Torejani, chairperson, Ms. Ayanda Oliphant, Mr. Justice Mokoko, Mr. Tumisho Makofane, Mr. Kevin Kisvitz, Ms. Refile Rapotu, Ms. Kelezo Mokwena, Dr. Shitsembiso Russell Mulamula, Ms. Lindiwe Mjobo, Mr. Ngaledzani Sengani, Mr. James Mabua, and Dr. Soroya Bukes. Cabinet approved the appointment of the Board of Housing Development Agency, led by Hosi Penny Ngobe, Deputy Ms. Nelisiwe Bai, Dr. Alice Lisiba Mahapa, and Ms. Nalini Maharaj. Cabinet also approved the appointment of members of Community Schemes Ombuds Service, led by Mr. Jacob Kawa, chairperson, Ms. Maria Dumakude, deputy chairperson, Mr. Heinrich April, Mr. Simon Mulife, Sam approved the appointment of the board of the Property Practitioners Regulatory Authority. Excuse me. These are Ms. Quindi Gungubele, chairperson, Mr. Kibeditswe Midupi, Mr. Dihang Stock, Ms. Delphine Line Erveste, Ms. Gidiwoni Tsilwane, and Ms. Nomxolisi Muahi. Cabinet approved the appointment of the National Home Builders Registration Council members, Ms. Nokolo Kivit, chairperson, Professor Mandla Radebe, deputy chairperson, Ms. Renairis Shelley Huntley, Mr. Hanki Matabane, Ms. Notutuko Shilubane, Ms. Murwesi Ramunyai Tonga, Ms. Sipindile Memela, Ms. Nomtandazo Lucian Ngobo, Mr. Donovan Goliath, Professor Sijekula Mbanga, and Mr. Lehlonolo Alfred Member under the theme Healing Historical Wounds and Forging New Future. The month serves as a clarion call for all sectors of society to play an commemoration coincides with 30 years of our democracy celebration and will also reflect on the work of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, which helped our country deal with the wounds inflicted by apartheid. The TRC advanced peace, reconciliation, tolerance, and social cohesion, and will then have to do an assessment of whether the healing has gone deep enough. The 2024 National Day of Reconciliation will take place on the 16th of December 2024 in Matsikama local municipality in the Western Cape. It will be followed by a dialogue from widows of our nation's freedom fighters. Through these discussions or dialogue, we hope to draw wisdom and courage to move forward in building the country envisaged by our forebears. His Excellency President of the Republic of Angola, His Excellency João Manuel Lorenzo, will undertake a state visit to the Republic of South Africa on the 12th of December 2024 at the invitation of President Cyril Ramaphosa. The visit will strengthen relations between South Africa and Angola and focus on preparations for the inaugural session of South Africa-Angola Binational Commission to be hosted in Angola in 2025. The heads of state will further exchange views on regional, continental, and global matters of mutual interest. President Ramaphosa is undertaking a state visit to the People's Democratic Republic of Angola, commencing today until tomorrow, the 6th of December 2024. The visit will explore ways to further enhance bilateral cooperation in various fields and our shared vision to promote the values and ideals of Pan-Africanism. On messages, we start with congratulations. Cabinet extended its congratulations and well wishes to Minister Ronald Lamula, who was bestowed the Order of the Star of Merit in recognition of fight against Israel, and the award was bestowed by the President of the Palestinian Authority. The National Treasury of South Africa for issuing 3.5 billion US dollar bonds with a 12-year and 30-year tranche. Professor Tumbindungu, who has been elected to the prestigious U.S. National Academy of Medicine. The recognition is considered one of the highest honors in the fields of health. Prestigious the remainder of the 2023-2026 term to fill the vacancy left after the passing of Justice Yvonne Mohoro. May the soul of Justice Yvonne Mohoro continue to rest in peace. To Bafana Bafana, who qualified for the 2025 African, the top spot in World Rugby after the victory against England, and to Peter Stefan du Toit, who was named World Rugby Player of the Year. To Nkosinathi Maphumulo, popularly known as DJ Black Coffee, named the world's best DJ 2024, and Palisa Desri Silabye, known as DJ Desri, named as the world's Breakthrough Artist 2024 at the Golden Moon Awards held in Spain. Grammy Award-winning South African flautist, composer and producer Wouter Kellerman for being nominated for a Grammy in the Best New Age Ambient or Chant Album category for his latest album, Ntshavheni, International Bodybuilding and Fitness Masterclass in over 40 category. Mahau Ramaila, who was crowned winner of the 2024 Miss Teen World Beauty Pageant. On condolences, Cabinet expressed its condolences to the family and friends of Miss Louisa Asmal, a leader of the International Campaign Against Apartheid, and the spouse of our late former Minister of Higher Education, Professor Kada Asmal. She was the co-founder of the Irish anti-apartheid movement. Dr. Faustin Ndugulile, the former health minister of Tanzania, who was elected World Health Organization Africa's regional director and was due to commence his duties next year, the beginning of next year. Cabinet wishes to extend its condolences to the government and the people of Tanzania, the World Health Organization, both internationally and Africa region, on the untimely passing of Dr. Ndugulile. To the family and friends of Mr. Naftali Manana, a committed public servant who was part of the team that built the Gauteng Department of Education and Gauteng Provincial Government when they were established. He was also a freedom fighter and the former leader of Azaso and Sansco and the Catholic Students Association activist at the then University of the North in the 1980s. Professor Enos Ngutjane, who was chair of the governing body of the CCMA, he was an activist and he will be remembered for his invaluable contributions to the administration of the country's labor market. Mr. Imran Vanker, who played a pivotal role in the field of auditing, serving as chair of the Audit Committee of the United Nations, the Director of Standards at the Independent Regulatory Board of Auditors, and convening the Audit and Ethics Committee and the Committee for Auditing Standards in South Africa. South African football legend Lucas Masterpieces Moripe, known by his fans as the God of football. His legacy lives on in the Lucas Masterpieces Moripe Stadium in Atteridgeville, which was named after him in 2010. And we are immensely proud that we honored him when he was still alive, and he continued to contribute to the football in general, but to inspire the ambitions and visions and dreams of young footballers in our townships. South African poet, novelist, painter, and activist Breyten Breitenbach. He was well known as a dissident poet and vocal critic of the apartheid regime. He passed on in France, where he lived for the remainder of his days. Mr. Jacques Cornish, a veteran journalist, editor, and authoritative commentator on African affairs, who ensured that South African stories were told around the world. He also contributed to a deep understanding of the continent's challenges and opportunities. May their souls rest in peace. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister, for the statement. Joining the Minister on the podium, colleagues, is the Acting DG of GCIS, Ms. Nomondo Ndokwa. I will then welcome questions firstly from the House, and then we will go for them one by one. I think the drill is very clear. Let me note your hand, note the second, the third, and the fourth, and in that order you are recognized.
Thank you. Minister, is there an updated date or timeline for the national dialogue, which was originally scheduled for this month? Secondly, the last time you briefed us, you said there were no discussions had by Cabinet on the Communications Minister's decision to withdraw the SABC bill. Has that since changed? And if there have been discussions, what has been decided? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Back.
Morning, Minister. Paul Bekiota from Bloomberg. On SAA, the pilots have reportedly gone on strike over a pay deal. SAA announced the possibility of this yesterday. Was Cabinet told about this and briefed? If so, what was Cabinet's reaction? And then secondly, Eskom has reportedly found a buyer for its home loan units. And considering the interest around Eskom, was Cabinet briefed on this? And if so, what were the details? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister. Dennis Dalport from Netwerk 24. Minister, I've got 4 questions for you. The first one is, was the issue surrounding Minister Thembi Similani discussed by Cabinet? We know that she has been changed to the Minister of Human Settlements, but why is it that she is not suspended pending the ongoing investigations against her? My second question is just a follow-up on spaza shops. The work is ongoing and that 21-day period is coming to an end soon. Will there be an extension for spaza shop owners to register, and if not, what would be the consequences for them? And then on the Bella Act, it seems like there's some confusion about the President's role in this new NEDLAC agreement. Please can you just clarify, as the Presidency did sign that agreement? And then my last question is with regards to Deputy President Paul Mashatile. Now, he received a diamond from the alleged scammer Louis Liebenberg. The DP indicated that he would return that diamond, which was allegedly a gift to his wife. Did he return that diamond as yet? And did he declare it as a gift once he received it last year? Thank you.
Thank you very much. The last thing.
I've got three questions. The first relates to SASSA CEO Festive Khumbudzo. Who in cabinet, can you hear me?
No, I didn't hear the name.
Okay, the first question relates to the SASSA CEO Festive Khumbudzo. Who was responsible for her appointment? Who in cabinet approved her salary? And why is she being investigated if she didn't hire herself? And if her contract was extended by a year? The second question is, can you explain the President's motivation to reshuffle his ministers, especially that of the deputy ministers? And the third question is Cabinet doing anything about the South African Post Office's financial status? They've been in business rescue since July of 2023. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister.
Thank you. I need to dispense with the ones that are not in the purview of cabinet. The appointment, disappointment, I can't provide answers. It's not cabinet's answers. We don't discuss. You are either called and informed, and that's the discussion between the minister and the president. This also deals with why was she why the minister's Simelane's issues. I don't know what the issues are. I've been discussed by cabinet, but we don't discuss appointment, unappointment, movement of ministers. Sole purview of the president. He doesn't have collective. You know, in other decisions, there's a president with the cabinet collective. On those, he exercises his decision solely. If cabinet assisting, then there will be a problem, because that will be the violation of both the constitution and the law that gives him that authority. And then you spoke about the Bela Act confusion. Please explain which confusion.
Well, the President said that the NEDLAC agreement, or the Presidency sent out a statement on Sunday which says that that agreement doesn't have any impact on the President's role with regards to the Bela Act. Something that Solidarity said is that it seems like the Presidency is distancing itself now from that. It's not binded to that, or the Presidency is binded to that agreement, and what type of impact does that have on the discussions that the President himself will have and the decisions that he will make with regards to the Bela Act?
In terms of decisions with regard to the Bela Act has been already signed to become law. The President expires in December, and the clearinghouse led by the Deputy President is engaged on that matters, and that decision will be brought to Cabinet. As indicated in the statement issued by the, in terms of the official in the Presidency signing, I'm still awaiting the report as the Minister in the Presidency on what has happened, because the President, neither the President or Deputy President or myself were aware that the signing will be done, though it is the act of signing agreements in NEDLAC are administrative. So I will receive the report in due course. And on the ESCOM home loan unit, the Cabinet does not co-manage ESCOM with the board of ESCOM and the executive of ESCOM and the shareholder ministry. So the ESCOM home loan purchase or sale, it's within the purview of the board and the executive management of ESCOM. I'm sure they have the responsibility to brief their own minister, but it's not a matter that cabinet gets involved in. It's very operational in their own nature. On whether the deputy president has declared the diamond, I thought what was announced was that the gift was to the deputy president's wife, who is not a member of parliament, neither is she a member of cabinet. Whether the deputy president has returned the diamond, I hope you are saying whether the second lady has returned the diamond, and that question must be directed through the support staff of either the deputy president or the second lady. On whether Bosisiwe Memela, who appointed her, and all those, I don't even know when was she appointed, so I will not. It's a very operational issue. I'm sure you could ask the minister on that matter, and my understanding is that there is an investigation that is going on, and at the conclusion of that investigation, the minister will have a decision. But as I know DGs are appointed by cabinet, but I do not know whether CEO of SASAs are also appointed by cabinet. So I'm very clueless. I suggest you redirect the question to the Minister of Social Development. On whether there's an update and timeline on the national dialogue, there is no update on timeline on the national dialogue as yet. The consultation still continues, led by the Deputy President and the foundations that have been engaging on that matter. On the SABC bill, yes, Cabinet considered, Cabinet was briefed on the matter. As indicated in the last briefing, the bill is an executive bill, and the leader of government business has written to the Speaker to indicate that the bill has not been withdrawn. And Minister Malachi has been advised that if he wants to withdraw a bill, he must make a submission. And Cabinet has accepted that there was no malice intended by Minister Malachi. It's part of the standard protocols that new ministers will get used to how Cabinet operates. On the SAA strike, our understanding is that the pilots who, I don't know whether they've gone on strike or they still threatening because they will continue to engage with management, is that they represent 12% of the employees, but SAA has committed that they will ensure there are no interruptions to travel if they go on strike, and no matter how long the duration. But we are urging all parties to find each other and make sure that SAA does not regress. You will recall that SA plunged into the most difficult period when its employees, pilots and air hostesses and everyone else went on strikes. The strikes are not beneficial to the sustainability of SAA, and they continue to jeopardize SAA, the future sustainability and viability of SAA. And if you would recall that there was an announcement of the profit that SAA has made, it doesn't mean SAA is financially sound. And if I can indicate, there's no fiscal that's going to bail out SAA. So all employees within SAA must find each other with their management and their board to make sure that we maintain the sustainability of SAA as we continue to look for a strategic equity partner for SAA. On whether there will be an extension for the sponsorships, the Cabinet will be guided by the net joints in terms of the work they are doing when they appraise, when they update on the progress being made by municipalities to register sponsorships. And let me reiterate this point. The people who are registering sponsorships are not only foreign nationals. Everyone who owns a sponsorship, food handling facility must register within the municipalities. And secondly, if you are going to be used by a foreign national who is illegal in the country to register a sponsorship, you should know that we are going to come for you. Law enforcement is going to come for you. You should know that SARS will also come for you to collect, because we expect you to be running that business. And we have indicated that the Department of Small Business Development and DTIC are going to launch a fund to support South African-owned spaza shops. And in terms of the Immigration Act in South Africa, a foreign national can run a business or operate a business if they invest a minimum of 5 million rands. And we are hoping that when municipalities register the foreign nationals' own spaza shops, those that are documented in the country, they must demonstrate an investment of 5 million rands in that spaza shop. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister. We will go for the online questions. I'll request Nandi to lead us.
Good morning, Minister, DG, and the members of the media. We've got 3 questions, 2 from Sophie and 1 from Arthur. Sophie Mkwena from SABC, the first question, President Cyril Ramaphosa will be hosting his Angolan counterpart. Will the 2 leaders discuss the security challenges in the southern part of the DRC? Second question is, President Ramaphosa will also meet his Algerian counterpart in Algiers during the state visit. How important is this state visit in the context of the current conflict in the Middle East? One question from Arthur from Heart FM. NERSA is holding public hearings into ESCOM's application for another electricity price hike. What's the position of the cabinet in ESCOM's application? Thank you.
Minister, those are the questions we have online, and we might go for them. And maybe, Minister, then you might take the very last bite because in the press briefing.
Thank you. We forgot to include that this month also includes celebration of the Disability Month as we work to promote and protect the rights of those with disability in our country, both by giving them economic opportunities, making sure there's disability awareness and support within the communities. We are a country and a continent with a history of prejudicing people with disability, and as a country we are proud that we have introduced the 12th official language, which is the sign language, as part of protecting the people with, as part of the people with disability. But we urge the nation to work together to protect everyone with disability, and also including those with albinism. Thank you on that part. On the first question, on the President of Angola, we had indicated in the statement that they will discuss issues of both national, regional, and continental and global interest to the 2 countries. Both Angola and South Africa are active participants in mechanisms to bring peace within the DRC, Eastern DRC, including the Luanda Agreement that is assured by Angola. And for that reason, we are confident that the 2 recent past SADC summit. 2, on the Algerian visit, it is an important visit not only for the geopolitics of the Middle East, but also the northern region itself and the developments within the Sahel. So that engagement will also take place, and the strengthening of relations between Algeria and South Africa is important to ensure that the 2 ends of the continent of Africa are custodians of peace and development within requires the bringing 2 heads together and sharing ideas of how to promote peace, because the peace actively by current leaders as we secure. On the ESCOM tariffs and the NERSA public participation, Minister Ramaphosa has spoken on this matter. ESCOM remains sustainable. I think the project for the rollover of KRN2 and the reduction and the project to reduce the non-paying, what do they call them? Come in quite handy, can be reduced to make electricity affordable again in South Africa. And to the Christian community as they celebrate the Christmas and the New Year, we call upon all South Africans to make sure that they keep their children safe, they keep themselves safe, The congestion on the road as people go for holidays is going to be hectic. We request that we be patient and travel, give ourselves sufficient travel to travel, but also a rest when we are tired. We also, in the plea for patience, is because law enforcement in all its forms will be on the roads, making sure that there is the rule of law that is upheld, including the road blockages, that the stop and goes that will be searching for criminals. Be patient with us, allow law enforcement to do their work. We are also calling upon parents to protect the children. Some of you are going to go to holiday destinations. The Durban is open, the beaches of Durban are open. Look after the children, there must not be any drownings. Let's be water safe. But this festive season is taking place at the height of the worst of climate change impact, where here the seasonal changes are not predictable. We continue to expect a heat wave like we're expecting now in Gauteng and the northern provinces, but also we contrast radio for weather alerts and follow the weather services announcement. As the government communication and information system, if there are any severe weather alerts that are needed, we'll make sure we amplify the message from the weather services to make sure South Africans are safe. If you go out, please apply sunscreen, because the heat is unbearable and is not good for your skin. We do not want to have other unnecessary diseases. Keep your children under shade, and we wish you a prosperous 2025. If there's any other updates, we'll convene you again. But for now, go and enjoy your holidays, and I'm praying that there's nothing major that happens, because I need definitely a holiday. Even my eyes are giving up. Thank you.
So this brings us to the end of this briefing, and it is adjourned. Thank you very much.
You saw I was keeping the baby relief.
It's not. Sorry, I just want to ask the minister a question that's not related to
Minister, SABC, they request, they say the water